getting ready to go. All right. All right, so welcome everyone. Got a few people sitting still. So this is the Robert Lunz group of the Sierra Club. And we are the Charleston and Berkeley and Dorchester and Colleton group of the South Carolina Sierra Club. So yeah, our mission is to explore, enjoy, and protect the wild places of the earth. All right. Let me get this off of there. Okay, we are a volunteer organization. And I'm Christine Von Collins, by the way. I am the chief volunteer. I'm the chair of the local Robert Lunz group. And we have several of our executive committee members in the audience here. We got Nina and Laura and Amanda and Pat and Stars at home running the Zoom for everybody at home. And Alex a volunteer, Rebecca's a volunteer. So yeah, we're all in this together, all trying to bring you information every month and really want to seriously protect the wild places of the earth. And you know, over the past month, we've seen some things happening on the federal level that are very disturbing and are already having a negative effect on preserving and conserving the wild places of the earth. So we really need to get out there and keep fighting and keep doing as much as we can to continue the good work that we and all the other organizations and people throughout the world really are trying to do to, you know, make ourselves more healthy and make plants and animals more healthy. So yeah, we've got work to do. All right, we've got some outings coming up. Rebecca and Amanda are our co-chairs for outings, and they're both here tonight. And do either of you want to talk about outings? Sorry, I usually throw it to Star, and he's usually at home. And I didn't think about it till just now. I can do it though. Yeah, fine. I won't put you on the spot. Yeah, this is a group from Tom Yawkey Wildlife Center this month, actually, or last month, January. And yeah, I am very, very sorry that I couldn't join you all, and it did look like a great time. And the next outing coming up is February 16th. That's a day hike at Bear Island Wildlife Management Area. Believe that's a Bill Turner. And then we've got our oyster roast on the 23rd. I think we have a slide about that I'll go in more depth. And then in March, there's going to be a bicycle tour of Bono Ferry. I think I've done that one before, and that is a great trip as well. So just any of our outings, and especially our oyster roast, get on out there and enjoy with us. Got Lime and the Coconuts band will be there. They are an absolute dream band to have. They're so great. They have so much fun. And we will have the best oysters ever at Bowen's Island. They will be cooking them up and throwing those oysters left and right. You will not be able to walk away hungry, that is for sure. And we'll have potluck chili. So if anyone is really good at making chili, please volunteer to make a pot of chili and let us know. And we'll have veggie dogs and beer and wine for a donation. And this year we will have ice cream from the Old Fashioned Ice Cream Parlor. So local ice cream. We are looking forward to that. All right, so if you want to volunteer to help cook veggie dogs or serve ice cream or help us serve beer or wine, let us know. All right, before we move on, next month, we will be working with Groundswell, which is an organization in downtown Charleston. It's a neighborhood organization, and we're working with them to put on a forum on the water plan. So the water plan is a plan that was made by the city of Charleston to help the city of Charleston understand how to work to, alleviate flooding or mitigate flooding. And this plan works with basins in mind. So you have a flood basin that you live in when no matter where you are, really. But in the city of Charleston, they've broken it up into all the different flood basins. And so this plan outlines all that and has defined projects per basin. So they introduced it at the city of Charleston's council meeting one time, and we haven't heard much about it since then. So what we're doing is we're going to have the engineers that created the plan come and talk to us and give us more information on the plan. We're going to have somebody from the city of Charleston here to make an announcement about something that they're working on. I don't want to talk about that until they're ready to talk about it. And we're going to invite, city council people, county council, state representatives, and all of you and anyone, the public that wants to come. This is a great opportunity to learn more about what the city is doing to mitigate and adapt to flooding. Oh, and on that topic, we're working with a whole bunch of other groups like Coastal Conservation League, Charleston Climate Coalition, the Charleston Waterkeeper, Ocean Alliance, neighborhood groups, organizations, the Citadel, you name it, we're working with them. If you know anybody who wants to work with us, let us know. All right, tonight, let me move this out of the way. All right, we have Montravius King. He is the new director of the chapter of the South Carolina Sierra Club. He is from rural North Carolina, and he has served as the inaugural director of the Justice40 Accelerator at the Partnership for Southern Equity. He's secured grant funding for environmental justice groups nationwide. He was the Clean Energy Campaigns Director at the North Carolina League of Conservation Voters, advocating for the Inflation Reduction Act and working with rural mayors on environmental and energy issues in Eastern North Carolina. Montravius tonight is going to tell us all about Justice40 and leveraging climate and energy investments post Biden-Harris administration, which we are definitely post that. So yeah, so we really need to know how to move forward here. All right, Montravius, welcome. Thank you very much.
Share.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Look, first of all, it feels so good to be back in Charleston. This is my second time in Charleston this year, back in Charleston. So it just feels great. The last time I felt like I didn't really have a chance to enjoy the city as much, but this time I'm definitely looking forward to getting out and enjoying the city. So I'm standing in Mount Pleasant at the Hampton Inn, and I love it. That's like my little spot now. So once I find a spot, I tend to stay there. And I want to walk the bridge, the Ravenel Bridge. So I'm doing that tomorrow morning, and I'm really serious about it. So if anybody wants to join me, please get with me after my presentation. Because I don't know, raise your hand if you're in Mount Pleasant or anywhere on the other side of the bridge. I know Christine and Alec. Where are you?
I'm off of Ben Sawyer Boulevard,
Okay, it's
Fort Sullivan's Island.
Fort Sullivan. Okay, because Palm Springs, was it Palm Springs or? Yeah, Isle of Palms and everything else is further north, right? Okay, excellent. So Christine, thank you so much for that introduction. Again, I appreciate all of you for coming out tonight. It feels so good to actually get out and be amongst fighters. Feels so good to actually get out and be amongst people that care about protecting our environment, protecting the wild places of the earth, and protecting the people that we all love and care about that are impacted by the ongoing climate crisis. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here tonight. And thank you so much to everyone that's joining us via Zoom. I appreciate it. Audrey, our chapter coordinator, is joining us tonight from Columbia. Audrey, thank you so much for everything that you do for the South Carolina chapter of the Sierra Club. We appreciate you so much. And thank you to everyone, even in the other groups that decided to join tonight. Raise your hand if you are a non-Sierra Club member, but you are a friend of the Sierra Club. Okay, awesome. Okay, good. Right, great. Please, I want this to be a dialogue. I think I'm gonna share a few tidbits of information and just to sort of level set, what Justice 40 is, and just talk about where do we go from here. And I welcome questions, at least for about 15 to 20 minutes towards the end of the presentation. So thank you guys so much for coming out. We appreciate you. So this is the topic that y'all came to hear. Advancing Justice 40, leveraging climate and energy investments post-Biden-Harris administration. Before I even begin, raise your hand if you know what Justice 40 is. Who can tell me what Justice 40 is? Anyone? I need to use the mic.
Just stay near it.
Just stay near. Okay. Okay. I want everybody to hear me. Can everyone hear me on Zoom? Okay. All right, raise your hand if you know what Justice 40 is, or you have an idea, sort of.
That's why we're here.
That's fine. Great. So that's what I need to know. I used to be a teacher. I taught middle and high school social studies. My last 2 years of teaching, I taught AP US history during the Trump administration. And let me tell you something. It wasn't challenging, but it was to a certain extent. A lot of my colleagues got in trouble because they started, voicing their opinion. Yeah, I guess you would say teaching. They started voicing their individual, opinions on politics and things like that. I never did it. I even had a picture of Trump in my classroom. And parents, Republicans and Democrats, thank me for that. So I'm saying that to say this, I always ask my students first, before teaching the subject, what do you know about it first? And so it's a good thing that now that I know that not that many of you know a lot about it, that's a good opportunity for me to spend a little bit more time level setting, but still allow for Q&A. So what is the Justice 40 Accelerator? The Justice 40 Accelerator is a promise. It is a promise that was enacted by President Biden in 2021. And it is a promise that led to the enactment of an executive order, Executive Order 14008, which created the Justice 40 Initiative, which is basically a whole of government approach to tackling the climate crisis and also moving the needle on addressing environmental justice in communities across the United States of America. It's one of the president's campaign promises, something that he campaigned on. But what makes this executive order so unique is that it was written, because I want to back up for a minute, because I don't want to go fast. First and foremost, this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I did serve as the inaugural director of the Justice 40 Accelerator in Atlanta. And I had the honor of working with Groundswell. Groundswell, they are a part of the Justice 40 Accelerator. Groundswell, Elevate in Chicago, the Solutions Project, Hummingbird, and the Partnership for Southern Equity in Atlanta, Georgia. These organizations these organizations are collaborative. The Justice40 Accelerator is a collaborative project of these separate companies and organizations. So the accelerator was started after the executive order was enacted. But what is the accelerator? What is the initiative? Because sometimes people confuse those because they've only heard about the accelerator. The initiative is a U.S. government policy that I already stated that directs 40% of all investments from certain federal investments towards disadvantaged communities that are disproportionately impacted by pollution, climate change, and other environmental hazards, essentially ensuring that these communities receive a significant share of funding for clean energy, infrastructure, and climate resilient projects. So this is Executive Order 14008, and this was one of the executive orders that was rescinded during the new administration's first couple of days in office. So it's a promise, and what makes it so unique is that this executive order was written carefully, it was crafted so that it would be infused in all government departments and agencies. So what this means is that this order directed all state departments and agencies to implement a Justice40 plan, regardless if it was Department of Energy, HUD, EPA, all agencies had to come up with a plan to address environmental justice within their departments and agencies. This idea is not new. Remember, President Clinton started talking about environmental justice during his administration. Y'all remember that? But what makes this, that's okay. It's okay. What makes this so unique is that, this is now a whole of government approach to tackling the climate crisis and advancing environmental justice. Because during Clinton administration, he directed the EPA to advance environmental justice, okay? But what makes this unique is President Biden says, hey, we have to do better. We can and we must do everything within our power to move the needle on reducing emissions. And this is part of it. So we must do everything that we can to not just reduce emissions, but also repair the harm that's been done, in predominantly Black and brown and indigenous people color communities. That's very, very, very important to also solving the climate crisis, and as well as, helping people that have been for so long, in the most polluted areas of our country. For example, in Columbia, in Richland County, there's an area of Richland County called Lower Richlands. That is an EJ sacrifice zone, right? That area and the people that live in that area, that live in Hopkins and surrounding areas, they are firsthand witnesses to the impact of environmental racism in their communities. So this order seeks to address those challenges. And this is not an easy topic. Never mind. It is an easy topic for me to talk about. All right. The only thing that makes it hard is, when this subject is the subject of, hey, this is just for a certain group of people. I'm gonna tell you why it's not. And I'm gonna tell you why this, Justice40 is a win, not just for the community, but also a win. Turn off? Okay, that's okay. But it's also a win, for the environment and also community. So why Justice40? I think I just already kind of gone into that a little bit, I've already sort of pieced that together, piecemeal by piecemeal. But, I think that now more than ever, not only, like I was saying, not only do we want to make sure that we're making progress, towards, achieving decarbonization, but we also want to make sure that people in areas where that have seen disinvestment, and that are overburdened by legacy pollution, we must address it. We have a moral responsibility to address it. And so on the way up here, and I want to slow down because there's no need of being nervous. I'm a human being just like you guys. And like I said, this is a subject that I care deeply about. So I want to acknowledge first, I spoke with one of you guys, I forgot who it was. I asked her how she was doing. Who did I ask? Okay, because I really hope you guys ask me some questions. So I'm gonna read myself because this is it doesn't sound like it is.
That one on
The one on the podium.
Okay, it's on now. But I was afraid that it was gonna be too loud. Can everyone on Zoom hear me? Okay, so who did I ask? I asked Pretty Lady, how her day, how her night was going here. Almadale. And she said, hey, I don't know, I feel,
Sick to my stomach.
sick, yeah, you say you felt sick to your stomach. And I feel that. I feel that too. So I want to give space to that. All right, we come from all different walks of life. I come from rural East North Carolina, but I think that, we all share a commonality in that we care about the planet, right? We care about the environment. We care about environmental protections. We care about marginalized communities, and it's only been less than, oh my God. It's like we're stuck, in an ultra universe. We're in another planet right now. So I feel you. I feel you. It hurts, but I think that moments like this are so important for us to get together, recharge, learn, and push forward. So, that's what this is all about. It's more than just giving a presentation, but I think it's also about us pulling together as humans, collectively as people that care about this world to say, hey, look, we need to keep going and this is why. So I just want to give space to that. I definitely understand. I feel that same energy, but I've learned how to, within the last week to push forward despite the way I'm feeling. So Justice 40 is important, for so many reasons, but this is work that advocates have been doing now for decades. The father of environmental justice, Dr. Robert Bullard, has been on the front lines of tackling environmental justice issues for years now. Dr. Benjamin Chavis, who coined the term environmental racism from North Carolina, he was part of the Lunz and 10. He coined the term environmental racism. What is environmental racism? Environmental racism, and I want to say too, when I was driving up here, I said to myself, it's important to define terms. Raise your hand if you agree. It's important to define terms. I was like, I know I'm speaking to some adults and not college students or even high schoolers, but terms in this moment, in this area where people are lying every day and people don't understand terms, don't understand what DEI means, but they're against it, it's important to define terms. So what is environmental racism? Environmental racism is a term that was coined by Dr. Benjamin Chavis, one of the Lunz 10. Right? He was pardoned by our former governor of North Carolina, Beverly Perdue, pardoned by her during her administration. And environmental justice just means, it's for people that live in communities that have been overburdened and disinvested with legacy pollution. People that live in communities where, those communities have been a dumping ground for pollution, such as Hopkins and Lower Richmond. That's environmental racism because when people you look at redlining, you look at zoning, people knew that, hey, look, this area is populated by majority Black and brown or indigenous people colors. But we're still gonna put this coal plant here. That's environmental racism. So that's the reason why Justice 40 is so important. Amanda, let me know how I'm going on time. Good. So how do we identify this thing? How do we know which communities need this investment? How do we know that? Do we just say, okay, that's a Black community, so yeah, that they need it. So that was one of the challenges initially, and people were, providing feedback. They rolled this out, they did a soft roll first. And, it was like, oh, Mr. President, this is great, but how do we identify? And by the way, as you guys know, none of this stuff is online anymore. I try to get to the screening tool, it's blank. You know, that hurt me. You know, hurts you guys, so I'm like, oh my God, are we burning books, you know? Thankfully, we still have the federal register. So the climate and economic justice screening tool, am I speaking in a way that you guys can hear me? Because my voice is already naturally deep, so I don't want to talk too loud. So the climate and economic justice screening tool, that is a tool that we use as the administration was working on several, the previous administration, was working on several ways of assessing data and also collecting information to ensure that the initiative was going to the communities that it's designed to go towards. But this screening tool in particular was very, very important to actually identifying those communities. Initially, the tool was not, it was not the best, so a revision was made. And it was a very, very, very good one. I actually used it before I accepted this role. And as a consultant, I worked with some organizations to help them apply for the EPA Community Change Grant. So before we even applied, you know, I made sure, hey guys, look, I didn't know your zip code, just make sure that you are covered and eligible for this grant, since it's also part of the Justice40 initiative, the EPA Community Change Grant. So I want you to know that 33% of the US population, or 109 million individuals, are living in disadvantaged communities as defined by the climate and economic justice screening tool. All right, compared to 93.5 million individuals, or 29% of the US population, as identified in the updated version. That means that designating 33% of the population eligible for Justice40 funds underscores the need to ensure Justice40 exceeds its minimum goal of directing 40% of benefits to disadvantaged communities to meaningfully reduce inequities. So these are communities all across the United States, rural and urban, that are eligible for these funds, Justice40. And so a lot of people think, okay, is it just a grant? No, it's not a grant. You know, it's more than that, it's grants, it's programs. And of course, a large bulk of it has been grants. And a lot of organizations and a lot of municipalities and states have applied and received grant funding. But it's more than just that. And so speaking of more than just that, between 2001 and 2003, this initiative allocated well over $300 billion. 300 with a capital B, $300 billion, you know, across this nation to Justice40 covered programs. And that's across 500 agencies, 500 programs, and 19 federal agencies. So what are the category of investments? This is very important because a lot of people ask, okay, so what does it cover? So it covers climate change. It includes investments to reduce the effects of climate change. It covers clean energy and energy efficiency. I'm pausing because that's one of the areas that, you know, that I'm working with a few of our volunteers on with the Greening Project. They've been doing this work now for years. It's being impacted now by the new administration. Investments to increase clean energy and energy efficiency, clean transit, investments to improve clean transportation options, affordable, sustainable housing, investments to increase affordable and sustainable housing options, training and workforce development, investments to increase training and workforce development in related areas, remediation and the reduction of legacy pollution, investments to reduce legacy pollution, and critical clean water and wastewater infrastructures. Means exactly what it says, basically. So these are all the categories of investments that were mapped out, and you know, that means that anything that meets this category, this criteria, is Justice40 covered. Okay, so how does it work? The focus is on disadvantaged communities, hands down, number one. All right, it targets communities hardest hit historically burdened by pollution, poverty, and lack of access to clean infrastructure. Federal investment distribution. The goal is 40%, but of course, that's just the goal, right? It's more. And here's the thing, a lot of communities, a lot of cities and municipalities have implemented their own Justice 40 programs. And they've said, hey, look, the federal, that's great, but that's not good enough. We can do this, and I'm gonna get more into that in terms of where we go from here during my last slide. We can do this at the local level. We can do this at the state level, right? We're not gonna just wait and depend entirely on the federal government. Community identification, all right? Go back to the EJ screening tool. Another tool that the administration was rolling on was the environmental justice scorecard, all right, to gauge the agency's proficiency and really efficacy on advancing the Justice 40 initiative in their various departments. The EJ scorecard, basically give them a scorecard and say, hey, this is how you're doing, you know, this is where you can improve upon. All of that was being worked on and was about to be rolled out, you know, under, you know, if Vice President Harris had won the election, but it's gone now. Agency implementation, each federal agency, because it was sort of, you know, well, not sort of, it was, you know, coordinated by the Office of Management and Budget. It's coordinated by that office, Shalinda Baker, who was Biden's budget director. She coordinated. Again, this was a whole of government approach to tackling the climate crisis. Something that was transformational, right? Those of you who remember Bill Clinton, who started with just the EPA. This is a whole of government approach, each agency across the United States government. And that's why, you know, the Biden administration, that's why the current administration, was very instrumental in, you know, rescinding any type of executive order that dealt with equity, diversity, inclusion, anything, because Justice 40 is so embedded into the government, the federal government. So they knew that it would not be as simple as just issuing a new executive order to rescind it. Now, of course, he rescinded, of course, the current administration rescinded 14008, which basically set up the accelerator, but he had to do more than that. So there's like 6 or 8 executive orders that correlate with the Justice 40 initiative that had to be rescinded. All right, Department of Transportation, increase affordable transportation options that fight climate change and connect communities, identify and prioritize projects that benefit disadvantaged communities, evaluate the negative impacts of transportation projects on disadvantaged communities. So this is what, you know, the big departments, of course, these were their goals, all right? Of course, I hate to keep saying this, it sounds so negative, but it's the truth. Of course, these are not their goals anymore. And like I said, everything online that mentions anything to do with Justice 40 or equity, it's not there anymore. Have y'all seen that on social media? Have y'all seen that? Those of you who have Instagram and Facebook, you've seen people post screenshots of websites where the information is not there anymore. So you won't see anything about this anymore, except on the archive sites and on the Federal Register. All right. So Department of Energy, their goals were to decrease energy burden in disadvantaged communities, decrease environmental exposure and burdens, increase parity in clean energy technology, and so forth and so forth. I'm gonna speed up because I'm really hopeful that that we can do a really, really good Q&A session. And I'll share this presentation with you. How about that? I'm gonna skip this one too. This is what you want to know. Has Justice 40 made progress? Of course it has. You know, could it, you know, be better? Of course it can. All right. So again, this is one issue. I don't know everything, but this is one issue that I am, you know, I care deeply about. You know, I consider myself a subject matter expert on it. You know, I've worked with the EPA Tic Tacs. The preparation, you know, EPA Tic Tac. And the EPA Tic Tac is technical assistance centers, driving communities, technical assistance centers. They were set up during the Biden administration to help advance Justice 40. And the EPA is basically an EPA funded program, which awarded, $10 million grants to colleges and universities and research organizations across the country to advance environmental justice. Right, goes back to the whole government approach. So I actually helped, as a consultant, I actually helped to, get one of those think tanks established in the Midwest. So that's a part of their progress. And basically, they set up as resource centers. They're set up as resilience hubs to help communities that are, impacted by the climate crisis. So the answer is yes, but how has the progress been made through federal grants? The initiative has led to more grants for communities of color and low-income communities. And some people would say, it hasn't done enough. Some people might say a lot of the communities haven't really seen the money. More than one thing can be true, right? The money was definitely there, right now it's basically on standstill, sort of, to get more guidance. But I've heard a lot of people say, especially right here in South Carolina, in disadvantaged areas, they haven't seen the money. They don't know what it is. So still was and it is a lot of work to be done. I was in Florence, with Woodbury, with other EJ groups from across the nation. My first week in office, Audrey and I, we did a road show. We got a road together basically. And the EPA held a community event and people voiced their opinions and their concerns about the funding, doing it to basically let them know how do we apply, what can we use it for and so forth. Infrastructure, the initiative has led to investments in clean water and wastewater infrastructure, solar, the Solar for All grants. South Carolina applied for that. Y'all remember that? Have you heard about that? Yes. Okay, I said, awesome. Solar for All grants. So, there's definitely been some wins. There have been some wins. That's right, exactly. Yeah, that's right. South Carolina received the Solar for All grant. So that was a great thing. That was a plus, and I think we've seen an increase of investments as it relates to solar in the state, because of that grant. The numbers don't lie. Community-based projects, community-based organizations have led to projects such as solar initiatives, public transportation campaigns, and green space rehabilitation. And last, research. I think research is so important because, there are constantly things that we're still learning, right? And there are constantly, things that, we must say to ourselves, well, how do we make sure that in the process of speeding up our transition to a cleaner energy future, in the process of protecting the planet and the process of repairing the harm that's been done, through environmental justice, the process of all of that, how do we make sure that we're not furthering the harm? And I mentioned that because I was about to say this, I was going to speak to this earlier when I first started speaking, but I took an Uber here, and my Uber driver is from Serbia. And he asked me, he was like, what do you do for work? And we started having a little small talk. And he was like, wow, that's interesting. He was like, in Serbia, right now, a lot of people are protesting because the lithium mine in Serbia, and it's impacting people's health. And I was like, wow, I said, you know what? That lithium is used for batteries. We need battery capacity, right? But the mining is hurting people, right? So there's so many things that, to think about. And I was like, wow, that's something that, even thousands and thousands of miles away across the world, that other countries, other people are still dealing with. This is a global crisis that must be addressed, right? All right, so where do we go from here? Last year, I had some deep dives with some people in Michigan, in Detroit. Michigan is a little bit more progressive, right? A lot more, right? I'm trying to get y'all to smile a little bit. I'm trying to make y'all look a little bit. Yes. Who's been in Detroit? Raise your hand in Detroit, Motown. Thanks. Anybody been to the Motown Museum? No? I need to check it out. You like the Temptations, you like the Supremes? Then now you say, okay, I got somebody. I say, no, y'all, something about some Motown now. So anyway, I met with some people in Detroit, in Lansing and Detroit, as a matter of fact, about setting up a state-based accelerator. That's been done. They've done it with government funding. They've done it with funding from organizations and companies. So public-private partnerships are so important in this moment. There's still a desire from certain companies to continue the work of the Biden-Harris administration, continue the progress that has been made. So all hope is not lost, right? Everything that we've worked so hard to accomplish in this moment, cannot be erased alone by the stroke of a pen. It cannot. It cannot. So back to what you were saying earlier when I asked you how you was doing, look, I was with you, especially when I first started. I had to stop watching the news a little bit. It was like, God dang it. Every time I watch the news, there's something else that's just beating at my heart that's going on here. But be not dismayed. We're in this moment, it's real, we're experiencing it, but there are solutions, right? So state and local policy, we know South Carolina's hard. We know it is, but I believe that policymakers in South Carolina listen. So the good thing about me being in this role now, we're in the middle of session. And those of you following the chapter, and it's time to send out something, especially about House Bill 3309 that we're fighting against. We're fighting House Bill 3309 because it's the same bill as the last bill that they try to push through, but advocates across the state fought back against. It's a bad bill. And I have friends that work for utilities. I'm like, I want to say a cuss word, but I'm not. I want to say, dang guys, is there one? At least in North Carolina, with the energy omnibus bill, there was something good for conservation and for the environment, but there's nothing in this bill that's good. So we're fighting against that bill right now. And we have a new lobbyist, by the way. She's dynamic. And she's dynamic because she's able to have conversations with people on both sides of the aisle. That's where I'm getting at. Try not to speak too fast, but I really want to talk to y'all and have a good conversation. So, I spoke with some Republicans as well. Just last week, they listened. It was outside the Capitol on Act 7. So I'm saying that to say this, all hope is not lost. I believe there are some good people, even on the other side of the aisle, even in the state government, legislators, we need to start having conversations with about what this looks like. Talk about the benefits of Justice 40, and how it's going to help not only disadvantaged communities, but how it's also going to make our communities more resilient, how it's also going to spur economic development in communities. We want people working. We want people to be able to have access to clean water. We want people to be able to be trained and have workforce development opportunities no matter which communities they're in. Why? Because when people work and they're busy, it reduces crime, right? These are things, conversations that we need to have, not just with lawmakers, but also with community colleges as well, with universities, with technical centers. What are we doing to make sure that we're preparing people for the jobs of not just tomorrow, but today? All right, and lastly, we're not going to give up on engaging and holding this administration accountable. The governor of, I'm laughing right now on my head because the current governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, that's her name. The current governor of Alabama, she did a political commercial, and she said she was talking to President Biden, and she was like, "No way, Jose. Biden's going to turn this. If we vote for Biden, basically everybody's going to start speaking Spanish." And she was like, "No way, Jose." Well, I want to say this: there's no way that we're just going to sit here and not hold this freaking administration accountable. Right? We're going to continue to have a conversation. We're going to continue to engage our federal officials, continue to pick up the phone, continue to email. We're going to continue to fight. So that's where we go from here, guys. Thank you. Let me tell you, anybody have any questions?
What's age?
Yeah, it's a great question. H3309 is the energy omnibus bill that's currently in the House, in the South Carolina House of Representatives. And it seeks to address, energy resiliency, energy, challenges in the state of South Carolina. But it's an interesting bill because in doing all of that, you know, of course, there's a lot to unpack with it. You know, it addresses the Public Service Commission, addresses the makeup of it, addresses, you know, it addresses how agencies such as the South Carolina Nuclear Advisory Commission, it determines their scope. And also something that that's important to us, well, anything that's important to the Lunz group, if so, get with me afterwards. I would love to know, you know, you don't have to do that because as I was saying at last NISCOM meeting, it's important that we have to send out a survey so we can really know from you guys what issues you care more about. I can't just assume just because you're in Charleston that you care more about flooding and so I'm sure you do, but I'm sure you care about other issues as well besides that. But I'm saying that because it mentions SMRs, small modular reactors, which we are against, because as an organization, as a club, we are against all new nuclear generation. All right, so there's a lot there to unpack, but it is a bill that is currently moving at lightning speed, according to our lobbyists. Been texting her all day. Was supposed to be on the floor today, but it wasn't. So I think they're gonna add some more modifications to it. So that's what H3309 is. Good question.
That's kind of the continuation of H5118.
Yep.
From the last session.
That's right.
It was pushing gas plants and diminishing the Public Service Commission.
That's right. That's right. So there's, you know, little to nothing in there about renewables, little nothing in there about battery storage, nothing. You know, South Carolina has an enormous wind potential. I don't know if you guys know, but I serve on the board of directors for the Southeastern Wind Coalition. We are a consortium of states, southern states, and we're focused on advancing offshore wind. And that's a solution, you know. Besides nuclear, it's a better solution. And nothing in there about it. Nothing in this bill addresses. So, yes.
Correctly, you said you're opposed to the small reactors?
Yes. Yeah, that's our position.
Right.
Good question. So we are opposed to the small reactors because first of all, they don't exist. You know, they are not currently licensed by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. They're not authorized to be in existence here. But there's one in China. So there's no, you know, so this bill basically seeks to do additional research on SMRs, right? And we're also opposed to them for several other reasons. You know, with this, people think just because small, that it reduces the health and safety impacts. It doesn't. It doesn't. There are still several health and safety impacts associated with SMRs, and unfortunately, the bill that's written, it reduces a lot of the regulatory processes. It reduces the time. Of course, it takes, you know, a short period of time in order to build SMRs, but that can also be dangerous, right? Because it's not going through the normal regulatory process as full nuclear reactors.
The regulatory aspect. Why are you opposed to the small reactors?
Yeah, I mean, well, number one is just that they don't exist.
Well, they're working on it.
Waste,
Yeah,
waste.
yeah, waste. Good question. So I'm gonna give you, and it's not me. I don't. So let me correct you. This is a chapter's position, and I'm gonna give you our guidance on that. Okay. When I finish, you'll get my QR code, and you can send me an email. I'm gonna get with this. I'll get the guidance sheet so you can know exactly why the chapter, not me, is against that. And the reason why I said that is because someone emailed me the other day and it was like, "Oh, my trade is no." I'm very, very, very careful. When I accepted this position, I had to accept this position knowing that even if me myself may say, "Well, maybe that's not that bad. Maybe we should, you know, give SMRs a chance." I don't speak for myself. I speak for the organization. So I sent that out to some of our campaign staff. Next question, are you good?
Is it on their it's on the website?
It's on our website, yes, ma'am.
So the
Yep.
chapter is made up of volunteers, and the volunteers that sit on the conservation committee make these decisions. Anyone who's a member can be on that committee.
Good question, right?
I imagine that the point is the legacy toxic waste that's left over, the radioactive waste.
My understanding is the wastes are different with the smaller ones.
No, the waste is still nuclear waste.
Yeah, still nuclear waste.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense, and then have radioactive waste for centuries. I mean, what are we doing to future generations?
Well, I want to be careful not to make this, contentious thing, this is the chapter's position. And like I just say, get involved in your local groups, it's good still to hear other viewpoints, right? So I really appreciate yours, and I would love to hear a different setting, why you're for it. And I think this is what education is all about. Next question. How are you? Good to see you. You go.
I'm understanding that solar and wind are now less expensive, more economical than many other forms of energy. So we've got that technology available.
Do you mind repeating that?
Can you repeat that for me?
No, you repeat it for the people at home, because you have the mic.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, so she just said that, that solar and wind are now more affordable, so we have that.
Well, that's a better option for our state and our utility companies than to start developing.
Right, so, solar and wind are more, are more affordable options now. Why aren't utilities using those options? Why aren't they including those options in their IRPs, their integrated resource plans? Good question, guys. This is not, a simple reason, but at the end of the day, these companies are here, these corporations are here to make money. That's what they care about, their bottom line. And they think that the fastest way to make it is to continue the uses of fossil fuels and to continue to keep these legacy plants open. But it's our job to continue to push for renewables, and that's exactly what we're trying to do, as a chapter in the organization. Anybody else? I hope somebody else has a Justice 40 question, because you guys said y'all didn't know a lot about it, so I want a Justice 40 question first. Yes. What's your name again?
My name's Tucker.
Tucker, how are you?
I'm good. Are you aware of anyone trying to calculate how much was spent across all government agencies trying to develop Justice 40 plans that have now just been thrown in the garbage?
Yeah, good question. So
That would be a good campaigning point. To
yeah,
say this is completely blind policy, just throwing all this stuff away, threw away X number of dollars of work.
I'm in South Carolina.
good. Yeah,
With no
South Carolina just
consideration.
lost X $1 million.
right. That's a good question. I can't say, how much South Carolina specifically, but the latest numbers I saw, it states that it's been totality of the Justice 40 investments, and that includes the Inflation Reduction Act, that includes the bipartisan infrastructure law, and that includes the American Rescue Plan. There's upwards of over $1 trillion, total investments. So,
US or for South Carolina?
United States, $1 trillion. Yeah, good question.
The website, I just looked it up, and the website is on the Justice, right to Donald Trump. But you say it's in the archives, I mean, can they just bring all that information back at some point?
It's in the registry. So the registry is basically it's in the federal registry. The federal registry is basically, a part of the Library of Congress, and they can't destroy that. If they start destroying that, then you really need to be getting out in the streets and protesting. And I'll meet y'all down there. Okay? So go to the federal registry and you'll still be able to look up Justice 40, okay?
And I don't know about this time, but I know the last time that this administration came in, people literally saved everything they could from websites because they knew it was at risk.
Where are we at, Christine?
There's one more on mine. Let me get to that one first. How much J40 how much J40 money was invested in South Carolina that will not be renewed under the current admin? So that was kind of similar
Yeah, it's
question.
kind of similar. Yeah, so I don't have the exact figure for South Carolina, but I'm going to find out, try to find out at least.
I know
Yeah.
that the solar for all, I think, was around 7 million. So I
Good. We got,
don't know that one, it's on hold, just like everything else, so we
That's right.
probably
So-
won't get it.
right. So there's several others. So when you, this is what, it's gonna take some time to count this figure, because when you look at it, you're right. Christine, solar for all is one, and then think about all the organizations that received the EPA Community Change Grant. Think about the organizations that receive an award notification. You've now been awarded, they won't get it. So it'll take a little deep dive to get that figure, but I want it now. I really want it.
Yeah.
It's-
I was in a sustainability and resilience meeting today with the city, and they were talking about all these grants they got.
Yeah,
And you know, you're just like, yeah, but are you gonna get the money? And I know I'm involved personally with a grant for an organization, and that's on hold. So, you know, there are thousands of people across South Carolina who worked on grants. And they're all on hold. So it's millions and millions of dollars. There was a announcement in the Post and Courier about one of the battery companies that's putting development on hold.
that's jobs.
So that's jobs. All these are
That
jobs.
should be counted.
All these are jobs.
Yeah.
Every job is lost.
Yes.
We have 3 others. They're impacted because people are just not spending money, they're not like, their babysitters are out, it's ripple effect.
Right.
So I have 4 more minutes. I have 4 more minutes. I want to take my time back and give it back to you real quick, and we can talk afterwards as well. Any other questions? Doesn't have to be J4 at this point. It could be chapter stuff if you are a Sierra Club member. All right? Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna follow up with Bill's question. There about what specific projects have been put on hold or been delayed or whatever. I think this is kind of a priority item for us to pull together. I don't know what process is underway right now to do that.
Yeah.
We're just sitting here kind of whistling. right?
Yeah, the number one thing you can do is call your representatives.
Okay,
and keep calling.
my call.
They are gonna take your call, they are gonna listen to you, and they are gonna note it. And they do need to keep getting calls.
How do we get the number you're talking about?
Well, there's,
I got this question.
Yeah.
See, I got it.
yeah,
There are organizations that have the staff capacity to do the research. I'm gonna reach out to a few, we'll get the numbers, it's gonna take some time. This is something that we don't have the capacity to do as a chapter.
Southern Environmental Law Center.
Yeah, someone had, they have more staff, we don't have 2, me and,
Audrey.
so we don't have the capacity to do it, it's gonna take time to get this number, but.
Well, I mean,
it
the
can-
numbers I'm talking about, like Senator Graham, Senator
Yeah.
Scott,
But, yeah, well, he's talking about the number of investment, he's talking.
oh, that number.
Yeah, he's talking about how much they force money, invest in South Carolina, how many do.
Oh, yeah, the governor's office is looking at that number.
Yeah, so we have multiple people, but it's good to get other research organizations, to look into it. I'm sure there are some that's already on top of it, to reach out and ask, you know.
So we should.
Like some things like the Brookings
You
Institute.
should call the governor's office.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah, but listen to me. You don't wanna just rely on the numbers from the governor's office, you know what I mean? You wanna look at other research organizations as well, like the Brookings Institute, things like that. So what I'm saying to you is, I'm probably sure that someone is already working on this, because it's a good question, the statement, so we'll get it, it's gonna be out there somewhere.
Is there any wind power going on in South Carolina?
No, there's no reason, it's not, and even if it were, it would be stopped, because it's if it were, stopping when.
So
when
is
this is-
Is it impossible for a private company to start some sort of wind thing?
They can't do it.
You have to have federal
Yeah. it's-
help to
it's-
get it done.
It's regulated by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. You cannot, even as a private entity, you must go through Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. So it just won't get done under this administration. Last question.
But was Biden trying to do anything for the wind power in South Carolina?
Yeah, but it takes, you know, you have to have people willing to make an investment. You have to have the, you know, the political process, it has to be right. The political conditions, everything in South Carolina is just not out there. You know, remember, the utility, when you look at, who wind leases are given to, they're given to utilities, they're given to big companies. You know, you gotta ask yourself, well, who has the monopoly on utilities in South Carolina? And do they, Dominion, you know, what's the other ones, Christine? Dominion,
Duke,
do, and they
Zipper.
just haven't had any interest of doing it in South Carolina. So it rolls on, you know, because if they had said, look, we want to, you know, we want to create, you know, we want to include wind in our RFPs and, in our new energy generation, then all they have to do, go to the politicians and it would have been done. It would have been this deal, you know? So they just, the desire is not there, in South Carolina, but in North Carolina, totally different.
They've got it going on in North Carolina?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what that looks like, you know, now is gonna be interesting. So yeah, North Carolina, they currently have, Kitty Hawk, Baldhead Island off the coast of Wilmington. And you got one more, you got 3 wind leases active in North Carolina. So, you know, that's, of course, that's where I'm from. And I served on the governor's task force for offshore wind economic development. And my main job was to meet with local elected officials, chambers of commerce, and, you know, talk about the economic benefits of wind generation. And at that time, a lot of them were more concerned about, seeing the wind turbines. They didn't want to see it. I was like, oh, if you see it, it's gonna, you know, impact tourism. I'm like, guys, you're gonna have to swing very, very hard in order to see those turbines. So we actually, so the governor's office actually had a firm to draw up an image of what it would look like from the naked eye on the coast. You could barely see it on the horizon. So just things like that, you know, we have the solutions. We gotta do it, we gotta implement. Anyway, thank you guys so much. This has been amazing. I'm free the rest of the evening. Somebody brought me some pork chops and I do want to eat them, but I want to talk too, so I'm here, okay? Thank you, Christine.
Thank you. Did a great job. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot tonight. I'm sure everyone here learned a lot tonight. Yeah, this environmental stuff is not just, you know, a bunch of hippies in the backyard. This is big economic, you know, hard-hitting stuff. And the world has turned the corner, and I'm sure we'll keep turning the corner. I hope this is just a bump in the road. You know, like you said, Georgia, it makes economic sense. You know, this is not, you know, somebody trying to sell you up the river and trying to make, you know, more money off you. Solar and wind make economic sense. Farmers are gonna hurt because of this, because a lot of farmers have windmills on their farms, and it subsidizes their income.
And so-
You know, this is going to hurt average Americans all over the place. So, I don't think that it can be stopped, because it is a financial engine. So, yeah, let's keep battling it out. Let's keep learning and researching and getting more information to call our legislators and talk to them about it. And, yeah, and let's keep focusing locally. You know, the city of Charleston has a climate action plan. The Mount Pleasant has a green committee. What else is going on? North Charleston is doing things. The BCD COG is getting ready to have a climate action plan kickoff. So they're gonna make a kickoff, they're gonna make a climate action plan for the whole region.
Isle of Palm's putting solar panels on their police station.
Isle of Palm, solar panels on their police station. I have solar panels in my house. You could do it on your house. I mean, let's just get back to, you know, we can do this locally. One of the things Montravius said was, you know, Justice 40 can be done locally, it can be done at the state level. So yeah, let's focus where we can focus and keep moving forward. So yes, one more.
I agree totally about local initiatives, absolutely. What's going on there now? The state is now talking about starting something up again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cooper. looking for this.
Yeah, Santee Cooper does want to start the nuclear reactor project again, and they have put it out to try to find if there is some company in the world that wants to invest in that. That is to be seen. There may not be, there might be. Yeah, we gotta keep our eye out.
We're trying.
We just don't, we don't want them reaching in our pockets again. To, pull money out of our pockets for no reason. That's number one. And we're gonna fight to not have that happen.
I want to make a plug.
Nina's gonna make a plug.
Monthly climate action hour, and over 12,000 people signed up for the first one. They focus on some particular environmental issue that's under attack and give very real actions and information to help deal with it. So it's broken down to just amounts. I found it very inspiring. So I encourage you to go out and see climate action. Yeah, national.
Yeah, so there's for the people at home, the National Sierra Club is doing these sort of webinar type things about a climate issue once a month. We're gonna put some more information about that in our newsletter. So keep an eye out for the newsletter. All right, thank you all. Have a great night. See you next month.
I signed up.